Yo, what's going on, Top Billing? The Underground King is back with another one, right? So you saw the next man up thing that I did in regards to LSU, weighing the departures against what's actually on the roster, whereas a lot of people, they like to do that fan drivel analysis where they're just like, hey, so-and-so's leaving, so that's it, right? The whole program's dead and this and that. I want to tell you why I'm so bullish on the Florida Gators. I expect big things from the Florida Gators next season. I expected big things from the Florida Gators last season. And if you really look at it, in my opinion, it was the team that gave LSU the most trouble, right? If you actually looked at that particular game and how it was able to score against LSU, I think its style, right? LSU was a juggernaut. Nobody was going to beat LSU, right? We knew that was a team of destiny and everything like that. But even more so than the Auburn, where I didn't feel good about Auburn's offense, I just thought that, man, with a couple of more players for Florida that were out, John Grenard and Jabari Zuniga, I just thought that Florida gave LSU the best game. But that's neither here nor there. That's in the past. Looking forward to next season. I'm absolutely loving the Florida Gators roster when you compare it against the departures, right? Not that many departures, some really key departures, but a lot of guys on the next man up theory that I think are going to be absolute superstars, right? So let's start at the top. There's not a departure, right, at the quarterback position if we're going to start there, because Kyle Trask, the Trask at hand, to me, the best returning quarterback in the SEC, absolutely lit it up. Nobody's talking about this kid like that. The guy is he's just the goods, in my opinion, man. It's just something about this kid, right? I think there are certain things that he can improve on, but you would have to really think that he's going to improve on that, because with experience, sometimes we can always improve with experience, right? And not a lot of people want to write people off right away, but as you can see, this kid going into his 5th year of college, with the experience that he gained last year, I think he's going to be lights out, right? So he's got to stop sometimes locking in. And as a matter of fact, right, here's something that I could tell you about. Go to GatorCountry.com and you can see a film study that I did on Kyle Trask. Everybody's asking me where's the Gator content going off the channel here. I decided I was contacted by these guys and partnered up with them to do some film study content. And I did one on Kyle Trask a couple of weeks ago. So GatorCountry.com, make sure you're over there. Join their site. You can see some film studies from your guy periodically here, the Underground King Murf. But just doing some stuff with him in the Virginia game. I like what I saw. Sometimes, obviously, he locks into a decision that he wants to do pre-snap. He feels that he has it figured out. But once he comes up off of that, oh man, there's nothing really to say about the guy that's negative, right? He's not the greatest of athlete, but he's a willing athlete, powerful kid. He can get you those tough yards with his legs, but man, the guy's like Air Force One through the air with it. He can get the job done through the air with a wealth of receivers, even now returning. So let's talk about that, right? Loss, my man Van Jefferson, a very good player right there. Freddie Swain, one of my favorite players. Josh Hammond. All these guys, right, very good players. Tyree Cleveland, maybe not lived up to the billing like I thought he was going to do, right? I gave him top billing coming out of high school. I thought he was going to absolutely destroy it, but he turned out to be pretty good, right? So those are some key departures. Like, you can't front your way around that. Those are some really good guys. But I feel as good as the guys that they have about the guys they have returning as the guys they have departing. Got to talk about my man Trayvon Grimes. I expect big things from Trayvon Grimes. He's just one of these guys that I saw him with my own 2 eyes coming out of high school when I worked at Rivals at the 5-Star Challenge, and it was all kinds of big-time wide receivers there. Jerry Jeudy was there. Donovan Peoples-Jones, right? All kind of dope cornerbacks like a A.J. Terrell. Some of these guys that we seen balling out on the big-time stage this season, right? And Trayvon Grimes, to me, stood above all the rest, right? He was the biggest, fastest dude there. At the time, he was a 5-star, and I believe he got hurt in his senior year, and that kind of backed off his rating a little bit because he just didn't have the production, right, in his senior year, which I think is a travesty because you already know what the kid can do. I think he's a 5-star prospect coming out when he went to Ohio State. Found his way to the Florida Gators, but like I said before, it's an extremely stacked Gators roster as far as the receivers go, and now I think it's his time to be the man. I think he's going to absolutely crush it. He's far removed from that knee injury now. Now it's time for this kid to get downfield. He's just one of these guys. He's, to me, very complete. And he can work the quick game. I believe he can work the quick game, but he's just one of these downfield threats. He's got better hops than you. He's got better speed than you. He's a physical player. I love everything about the kid's game. He's going to absolutely kill it. Beyond him, Jacob Copeland. I'm looking for Jacob Copeland to really step up. A jumping bean type cat, flair for the dramatics. One of the just most athletic guys I think that I've seen at the position, man. He's not the tallest guy you've ever seen. He's probably 6'1", but he plays like he's 6'6". You wouldn't think that he was a 6-foot receiver because he can get up so high. I want to see him be able to win now, right? He's going to have to win in the quick game because they're going to be missing that, right? With a Van Jefferson and Freddie Swain, these guys are running off of slants and hitches and digs and everything like that. I think Jacob Copeland can be right along with those guys. And you can send him vertically and have him win in 50-50 contested situations. Kadarius Toney, he's a guy I got to see a little bit more from. I like him in the role of a Swiss Army knife where he's carrying the ball and doing all that, but he's going to have to be a receiver this year, right? They definitely can use him carrying the ball, but he's going to have to win in the quick game, yards after the catch game. But he has the talent is there, obviously. The talent is there. He's quicker than fast type cat, gets up to 0 to 60, but he can break long ones because his first few steps is just better than yours. Electrifying kid. You got an instant impact receiver coming in, I believe, in Xavier Henderson. Big kid, about 6'4", 190 pounds or something like that. Another guy very much in the mode of kind of like a Trayvon Grimes. Going to have to put on some weight, but I think it's all there. He's very he can get jiggy with it with his route. I love that, right? And when you can get jiggy with it and vary your route speed, he has very good hands. He can high point the ball as well. You got Pouncey coming in, right? I believe Jordan Pouncey coming in from Texas as a transfer. We've got to see a little bit more from him. But I remember him from back in the day. I thought he had a little bit of talent when he was going to Texas. So maybe he's a guy that can come in and kind of revive his career or further his career at the University of Florida. But, man, if you're not mentioning this next cat as a receiver, then you're doing yourself a disservice because he could be the best weapon in all of college football. And this is who Kyle Trask has to work with. That would be one Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts is, like I call him, checkmate, right? No matter where he's at, you're done. No matter where he's at, you're done because you have no one to compete with this guy. You can't put a linebacker on him. He's too big. He's too saucy. He has a lot of swagger to him. The way he runs his routes is just linebackers can't deal with that, right? And he's just far too big for defensive backs. Checkmate. Nothing else to say, right? This guy's a 1,000-yard receiver. If he had the targets, I think easily, right? But they're going to spread the ball around. You know about the hacker, Dan Mullen, right? The hacker, the best offensive mind to me in the SEC. Even over a guy like Lane Kiffin, right? It's close, though. It's very close. Lane Kiffin is the truth. And you got to give Mike Leach his props as well. And even a Todd Monken coming in at Georgia, right? So these guys are done. But something about Dan Mullen and his balance and him being able to do it, right? So think about this. Dan Mullen normally likes to work with guys and he has these guys, right? So I got to mention Emory Jones and Anthony Richardson coming in, a true freshman. These guys are more like what Mullen has traditionally liked at the quarterback position. But being able to work with a pocket passer like Kyle Trask to get the job done, it just goes to show you his versatility. He's all about hacking into defenses and finding your weak points. And he's going to be able to do that with this particular roster. Now, running back, that could be an issue. That could be an issue. You lose Michael Piron, right? Even with his dancing in the backfield, dancing in the background and stuff that I said last season, he still was a viable running back. But Dameon Pierce, I think he could replicate what a lot of the stuff that LaMichael Piron did, even more powerful, get upfield type cat. But if they're able to get Lorenzo Lingard, right? I covered Lorenzo Lingard at Rivals as well when I worked at the Miami site. Had to do some work on Lorenzo Lingard. He's the goods. Balanced, fast, physical, can make you miss. He's just one of these balanced running backs. If they can get him eligible off of a transfer, good night, Irene. Good night, Irene. And beyond that, Iverson, Clement, and man, who am I missing? Malik Davis, right? Malik Davis. I don't have much confidence in Malik Davis because he doesn't have enough confidence in himself, right? I feel like he's a walking fumble because he's probably thinking about fumbling. But he has a ton of talent himself. Hopefully he can find himself, and then he'd be good as well. So that could be a really good upgrade from what it was last season. All right. Flipping over to the other side of the ball. What we have here. Actually, no, we're going to stay there, right? The offensive line. You lost Nick Buchanan at center, but I saw my man Ethan White play last season, and to me, you would just slide a guy like maybe like a Brett Hagee into his position. Yeah, Ethan White. But put it this way. What was the worst part of Florida last season was the offensive line. It could very well be maybe not a strength. It just won't be the Achilles heel, right? If these guys improve, maybe it can be something that you're not really talking about that much. And that alone could make Florida go to the next level, right? Got Stone Feet Forsythe there. I like what I saw from Richard Garage. Brett Hagee can be serviceable. And Gene Turnstile DeLance. These guys have to improve, but they also have another year or have a year of experience under their belt now. Get to go home, reassess, come back. Maybe it could be, I don't know, maybe a strength. You never know how these things work in college football and football in general. On the other side, you lose your two best edge players, right? Well, Jabari Zuniga sometimes will play on the interior as well, but you know at him as a combination player. Jabari Zuniga and John Grenard, two guys who are fantastic. But let's be real about the situation. John Grenard is the truth, but he was a fifth-year senior. If he was that dope, he would already have been in the NFL by then. So to me, he's replaceable. He's not like you're replacing somebody who's a bona fide number one draft pick or something like that. Grenard could possibly go in the first round, but maybe not. Same thing with Jabari Zuniga. These guys they have behind them, though, I think are even better prospects than they were and maybe have a higher ceiling, in my opinion. I look to a guy like Chris Bogle. I'm super excited about Chris Bogle. He can do a lot of stuff, man. You can move him out right on a standout, a bump out, 6 technique type, put him at outside linebacker. You can have him cover tight ends. I think he's that fluid of an athlete, but he can get after the passer. And he's actually very stout against the run already. He can tell he enjoys it, getting after the run. I like Chris Bogle. Brenton Cox, somebody, if I'm being real about the situation, covered the University of Georgia, pause. I rode Brenton Cox hard last year. Got to put a double pause on that. Because to me, he's so talented, but sometimes his lack of effort is what kind of held him back in his lone year at the University of Georgia. You would think that transferring now, though, would light a fire up under his ass, and he could be the Brenton Cox that I saw here in the state of Georgia crushing it. And I'm talking about against elite competition. Nobody can stop Brenton Cox. This kid looks the part getting off the bus. He already looks like he's 30 years old. If he can be what I think he can be at the University of Florida under my man Dr. Pressure, Ty Grantham, man, you talk about having some edge players. Mahmoud Diabate as well. Somebody I've done some content on, just a flash rocket type. Needs to get a little bit bigger, but I think he in a 4-man front, you can play him on the line of scrimmage. You can bump him off, have him play kind of like a strong side linebacker role. It's a lot of versatility. You want versatility within the defense. You get a guy like Dr. Pressure, Ty Grantham, but you have versatility within your personnel, and I think that Florida has that. Lloyd Summerall, a lengthy type of cat, right? Played some really good competition in high school, I believe at Lakeland. And then Zach Carter coming back. Like, come on, man. These guys are loaded. They are absolutely loaded, especially when it comes to edge players and line of scrimmage players in general, right? So moving beyond that, you had the loss of Adam Schuler and Luke Ankrum. But, man, I'm pretty good with Kyrie Kimmel coming back. I thought he was the best of those interior players to me, or he flashed a lot to me, at least the most. Tadaro Slayton. All right, I really like a Tadaro Slayton, what he can bring to the interior of a defensive line. Marlon Dunlap, right? So we see Marlon Dunlap play a whole lot of ball. I'm surprised that he's still in school, to be honest with you. How old is Marlon Dunlap? And then you got a young guy like Andrew Chatfield. I'm especially excited to see what Andrew Chatfield can bring. It's a lot of talent right there, right? So moving off the second level, David Reese, perhaps the best player on the defense. He was everywhere. He was everything, do everything type of guy. And when he was on it, he was the man. You can't say anything bad about him. But he wasn't the best of athletes. But I think a guy like Amari Burney is the best of athletes. And if he's able to continue in his development, he has a higher ceiling than David Reese, for real. I got LaCedric Brunson there. And then you have James Houston as well. They'll be fine, all right? They'll be fine there, right? Especially when you consider the wealth of defensive backs that they have, too. So, speaking of right there, C.J. Henderson, he's gone. He didn't have the best of years to me. Neither did Marco Wilson, right? So both of those guys were kind of a disappointment to me. So are you going to take much of a drop-off? Perhaps. But the guys that they have coming behind those guys, one of them being Marco Wilson himself, right? The new and improved Marco Wilson, a year removed from knee surgery, I think should be a lot better. But I also think that he may be best served playing on the inside. Then you let a guy like Kyer Elam, perhaps the next superstar defensive back at Florida at the cornerback position. he's going to be a monster. I think he can replicate what C.J. Henderson did last season. Not to say that he was C.J. Henderson the year before, but he can be at least C.J. Henderson of last season, right? That kid is the true physical, can get his hands on you, pretty good in zone coverage, has great awareness, has a great feel for space. Kyer Elam's going to be the man. I like what I saw from Jaden Hill, another young guy right there. We already talked about Marco Wilson. And then Chester Kimbrough. He got a little bit of time right at the beginning of the season, and I like what I saw from him as well, right? It's Florida is always in the running to be DBU. They're going to always have good defensive backs there, and not much you can say about that. So, yeah, I think I hit on all the points that I wanted to hit on. In addition, on the offensive line, man, you got Joshua Braun, the guy who they flipped from the University of Georgia, who I thought a lot of, and his brother Parker before that. And then Isaiah Walker. Everybody's excited about Isaiah Walker, so putting him in to the landscape at offensive line. So just let me know what you guys think of you guys who are into personnel and the infrastructure. What do you think about the entire setup there at Florida? I love the hacker Dan Mullen and Dr. Pressure. If they can hang on to Dr. Pressure, I'm not dumb. To me, when you get Dr. Pressure, he's always got one foot out the door. He's just one of these guys. Eventually, he's going to be a head coach, then maybe he can settle down. But to me, it seems like he's always looking for the next opportunity. So hopefully they can hold on to him, at least for this season, and not have anything going on the rest of the season where they have to replace him and come back with the same staff that they had, virtually the same staff that they had with these returning players. Not much you can say, man. No, I wouldn't disrespect the Gators. I'll put it that way, all right? But just let me know down in the comment section what you think about this roster and everything, and we can have at it, man. Let's chop it up, all right? But with that being said, it's your boy Murf, the Underground King. Make sure you subscribe, tell a friend to tell a friend, and do all that good jazz right there, all right? But with that being said, I am out. Peace.
What more can I say?
Top billing.